It's Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. Peace is a part to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this afternoon, protesters barricade road, burn tires along part of Port Harcourt as police arrive. Russian government distance self from flag-waving protesters as military reads riot act. Federal government fixes date for completion of East-West Road. And on the foreign scene, Bangladesh Parliament dissolved after Prime Minister's resignation. I'm Ifichuku Moyena with the news. Now, armed policemen are now at the location where some protesters barricaded the Obidikwere axis of the East-West Road early hours of today. A video sent to us by eyewitnesses showed that protesters gathered at the location before 7:30 a.m., cordoned off the road with felled trees, set woods on fire, and was scaring motorists from getting close to the area. Our correspondent reports that some policemen were seen at the Jefter axis of the East-West Road trying to ensure common order around the area. Meanwhile, the protesters have all left the location before the police vans arrived. In the meantime, one of the leaders of the protesters told our correspondent that the convergence point for the protest remains the Federal Secretariat and not the Jefter area of the East-West Road. The protesters have also gathered in front of the Federal Secretariat for the day 6 of the demonstration. Also, there was commotion this morning in Rumuagolo Obiabo local government area as protesters cordoned off the road with burnt tires and trees. Vehicles and some business outlets along the Choba to Rumosi axis were seen hoisting green leaves, indicating solidarity with the protesters. Meanwhile, one of the supporters of the End Bad Governance protest in Port Harcourt, K.O. Baba, has assured that the protesters in Port Harcourt will not turn violent. Mr. K.O. Baba, a popular stand-up comedian, told correspondent Sebi Oluware that after 10 days, the protesters will review the federal government's response to their demands. K.O. Baba also explained that protesters in Port Harcourt are moving the protest to different locations in the metropolis to create awareness. In the meantime, a security expert, Ayuba Tanimu, warns the protesters to suspend their rallies and pursue dialogue. Mr. Tanimu, in an interview with correspondent Mekwotaka, expressed concerns that the continued protests might not achieve the desired result and could even be hijacked by hoodlums in other parts of the country that seem peaceful.
For them to talk. How many groups turn up? I think in that very particular meeting, only one group turn up. The other group did not turn up. Who can we hold responsible? If we are going to organize something like this, let the key leaders who organize it, let them come out, identify themselves, and take responsibility of how the thing is going to go. And you cannot protest because you have the right to protest and also breaking the law at the same time. You have the right to protest. You also have the responsibility to keep the law, to maintain peace and order.
Also, a public affairs commentator, Ken Allen Wakama, also criticized the president's speech and commended the protesters for registering their grievances. He appealed to them to suspend the protest.
controversy. I will simply ask that at least we have registered our concerns about the way the country is being governed, about the way the economy is running. It is time for us to come back. If who fights and runs away lives to fight another day, I will suggest they should withdraw so that it doesn't matter to them. They don't sympathize with the people. So they should withdraw for another day. That would be my suggestion.
Another public affairs analyst, Marcus Ijoma, said the president's broadcast failed to address any of the issues raised by the protesters, including the Port Harcourt refinery.
There's serious trust deficit. So when the president is saying things like we are importing agricultural inputs, tractors and all of those things, at best, most Nigerians feel is audio. Most of the things he's saying or he said in that speech didn't speak to the demands of the protesters. One of the major issues for protests is the return of fuel subsidy. If fuel subsidy is not going to be returned, he didn't make mention of when the refineries are going to work. So it doesn't address anything.
In another development, the military has warned that it will not tolerate any treasonable action by persons or groups protesting against the economic hardship in Nigeria. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, issued the warning yesterday after a Security Council meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa Abuja. He said the armed forces are tracking sponsors of those hoisting foreign flags within Nigeria.
That is treasonable offense and it should be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and ensure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government. Democracy is what we stand for. Democracy is what we continue to defend.
The Chief of Defense Staff explained that the meeting was to enable the security chiefs to give a situation report to the president on the nationwide protest, which some miscreants took advantage of to loot and cause mayhem. He also denied reports of looting by military personnel. Meanwhile, the Russian embassy in Nigeria has denied any involvement in the usage of its flag by some persons at the ongoing End Bad Governance protest. The country's embassy, in a statement yesterday, said neither the Russian government nor its officials are involved in the protesters' activities. The embassy attributes the use of Russian symbols by the protesters to personal choices, saying it does not reflect any official policy or position of the Russian government. It also expressed respect for Nigeria's democratic processes, acknowledging peaceful demonstrations as a legitimate expression of democracy. The embassy, however, condemned any potential disruptions or acts of violence that might arise from these events. And now food prices have continued to soar amid the nationwide End Bad Governance protest, worsening the economic situation in the country. This is also as banks remain shut amid internet disruptions, limiting financial transactions, even as traders and livestock dealers cry out over the shortage of supply of food items and livestock in the market. Our correspondent who visited some markets in the Port Harcourt metropolis spoke with a meat seller who lamented that the supply of livestock from the north to the southern region has been suspended due to the protest. He said livestock owners fear their trucks may be attacked by protesters. In the meantime, the federal government plans to sell a 50 kg bag of rice for 40,000 naira to public servants to help ease the food crisis. This was contained in a letter from the Federal Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, signed by the Director of Human Resources, Jayesimi Abimbola. It said workers must fill out a form on the website of the Office of the Head of Civil Service and submit it for approval. It said the payment and distribution will be managed by specific offices with oversight by the Joint Union Council Chairman to ensure transparency. Still to come, federal government fixes date for completion of East-West Road. Stay with us. a form on the website of the Office of the Head of Civil Service to access the 50 kg bag of rice at 40,000 naira. This was contained in a letter from the Federal Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs signed by the Director of Human Resources, Jayesimi Abimbola. The federal government says the Eleme petrochemical area and the Ahoda to Bayelsa axis of the East-West Road will be completed in 12 months. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Abubakar Momo, said this during an interview on Channels Television today. And now to business. There was a blackout in several parts of the country on Monday after a partial collapse of the national electricity grid. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company attributed the incident to a system failure. Now, this is the fifth grid collapse so far this year. In entertainment, Ira Starr's sophomore album, The Year I Turned 21, is the most streamed album by an African female artist after surpassing 500 million Spotify streams. In sports, Nigeria's Ella Onujewewo has qualified to the semi-finals of the 400 repechage after finishing first in Heat 1 of the athletics at the ongoing Paris Olympic Games on Tuesday morning. We'll go to a short commercial break.
Light Up Vocal Music Festival, hosted by Tacha, Obi Ivy, and Akman Okon. Over 10,000 will be in attendance to enjoy.
Resolved on Tuesday. The dissolution is one of the key demands of student protest leaders who have also said they will not accept a military-led government. The country's army chief has promised an interim government and said new elections will be announced. On the news this afternoon, you heard protesters early this morning barricaded roads and burned tires on day 6 of protests in parts of Port Harcourt. Russian government has distanced itself from flag-waving protesters as military reads riot act. The federal government has said parts of the East-West Road will be completed in 12 months. And on the foreign scene, Bangladesh Parliament has been dissolved after the Prime Minister's sudden resignation. The news was edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyeli. Many thanks for listening.